Hey, what's up YouTube? Welcome to today's video, and we are getting into the teaser season of 3.21 where GGG is going to spoon feed us a lot of good info, and it has begun with a bang, with a lot of good stuff that makes you forget about Diablo 4, forget about Last Epoch, and forget about your life, because the only thing you can think of is 3.21 and how amazing it's going to be. So on his Twitter, PoE posted, "We know many of you are waiting for teasers of Path of Exile Crucible. They begin tomorrow." And this has almost 2.79 million views. So you know 3.21 is going to be absolutely lit. Now, Crucible League is releasing on April 7th. And it is at 1 p.m. Pacific time. I think this is on a Friday. They always do it on the right before the weekend. So 1 p.m. PDT, I think it's actually kind of bad for European users because it's actually really, really late at night. What is it, like 8 p.m., 9 p.m.? Let me know down in the comments below what time the league actually starts if you're from Europe. But the live reveal is going to be on Thursday at 12 p.m. Pacific, March 30th, and you can see it on twitch.tv/Path of Exile. Most people do believe that Crucible is going to be a crafting league. It's going to revolutionize crafting as we know it. We're going to have Reforged key prefixes and suffixes back. We're going to have Eternal Orbs back. Everything's going to be back. And Crucible also kind of relates to Ultimatum, so we might be getting Ultimatum back. I'm just trolling, of course. No one really knows what Crucible League actually is. It's probably related to crafting, judging by the Forge, but anything else is just pure hopium. So let's go with what we know, what's concrete, and what we actually have found out. Now, if you watch the live reveal, you will get these new spiffy wings, and these are Sphinx wings. And they look pretty cool, not too shabby. They probably cost like $20 if you bought them in the store, so make sure to watch the live reveal stream. And you can do this on any channel, including this channel that's streaming Path of Exile on Twitch. But you have to make sure to link your Path of Exile account to Twitch. And most importantly, you also have to make sure to claim the drop after you watch 45 minutes. You have to make sure you claim it. It's going to be in your Twitch inventory. And then once you claim it, it will pop up in your, your microtransaction list in PoE. Now, GGG has also teased a certain number of nerfs and buffs. And this actually has me very, very, very excited. And this is one of the best parts about PoE, right? PoE, or Grinding Gear Games, is a pretty big company, right? You don't see big game developer companies do this. So someone asked, Jung Roan asked, can you divulge more stuff about some of the nerfs and buffs or some of the teasers that you have? And GGG decides to send an edging comment. Would you like to hear a secret about Seismic Trap, right? So what type of secret about Seismic Trap? Is it going to be a Seismic Trap buff? Or is it going to be a Seismic Trap nerf? Now, most people do believe that Seismic Trap will get nerfed. I think GGG did say they did not nerf Seismic Trap last league, purely because there was not that many people playing it in 3.19. Now, nerfing Seismic Trap is kind of an interesting proposition because there's so many different ways to approach nerfing it, right? Could you nerf Seismic Trap from its overlapping? Could you nerf its base damage again? Could you nerf its ailment effectiveness? Could you nerf... There's so many different things to nerf about it. However, you could also nerf the fact that most of the people who take advantage of Seismic Trap at League Start are doing it with Poison. You can nerf Poison directly. You can nerf the duration of Poison. You can nerf the base damage of Poison. You could also nerf Temp Chains. And Temporal Chains is one of the main reasons why Poison is so strong now. You can also nerf the Curse Despair a little bit more. And this is just a confirmation that Seismic Trap is going to be nerfed in 3.21. However, we have really no idea what the nerf to Seismic Trap is going to be. Now, next up, we have Spark. And Spark is something that has not been confirmed to be nerfed. I'm not really sure if it's going to be nerfed. I would predict that Spark is going to see a tiny little bit of an adjustment numerically just because it's the most popular skill. However, I do hate nerfing things just because it's popular, but GGG has done this in the past. We've seen Fire Trap nerf because Righteous Fire is popular. We've seen Inquisitor nerfs because Righteous Fire is popular. And GGG does like to nerf the most common ascendancy or the most common skill being played. And we saw this also with Nightblade. We saw this with, what's it called? I think Occultist got a little bit of a nerf. And next up, this is a prediction that I have, is I do think that Champion might get adjusted a little bit. We might see the aura effectiveness on the Champion Ascendancy tuned down a little bit. I do think that Champion is probably too generically good for almost every single skill. I think at this point, you look at Champion and you're like, oh, I can play with that. And the only thing that you really lose out on is the pathing out of the duelist area. But Champion is the extraordinary ascendancy. You get a lot of damage from the aura effectiveness. You get a lot of generic damage from proccing adrenaline. And you also get a lot of defenses from the extra armor and evasion, and also having permanent fortify. I also think that Heat Shiver and Devouring Diadem are in the danger territory, and that Heat Shiver is extremely, extremely strong. And Devouring Diadem is an item that is ubiquitous and overly used in SSF. I think Devouring Diadem is actually the most used SSF item in the game. And lastly, in terms of buffs, what do I expect? I think GGG might take 3.21 as a time to buff all melee skills. I think we might be seeing a lot of underrepresented skills being buffed by 100% damage. This might be one of the biggest patches we've ever seen in terms of diversifying the amount of skills that's able to be played. I think if we think back to it, when GGG did the balance tuning for all the spells, they actually buffed a lot of the spells by a gigantic amount. And I think this time around, without the balance manifesto, GGG might actually go overboard with numerical buffs instead of this little +2 radius on cleave bullshit that they keep doing. Now, next up, we have the quality of life improvements that GGG finally teased, and we have won. We, as Reddit and as people who complain, have actually won against the conglomerate of grinding gear games, and that 3.21 will finally change the chaos stack size to 20. Now, one of the things that's kind of sad about this is that if you trade in, in multiples of 10, like if you do a 10 chaos trade, technically it's going to take more clicks, but if you do like larger trades like 20, 40, 60, 80, 100 chaos, that's going to be a lot less clicks. Now, one thing that's going to be interesting is that Divine Orb to Chaos ratio might be worse than ever now that people don't have this psychological limit that you can only put 600 Chaos Orb in the trade window. You can put 1,200 Chaos Orbs now. And I don't know, maybe Chaos Orbs to Divine ratio could be 400 to 1. Who knows, right? So that might be an unintended consequence. But it's really, really nice to see that they finally listen. And this is not really GGG giving in fully. They still are very stubborn about what they believe in. They still believe in the weight. They want you to have the weight of the clicks. And that's kind of seen. Like, a lot of people say, why not 50? Why not 100? Why not have infinite stack size, right? But 20 is a little bit of a compromise. It's not that much, and it's kind of the bare minimum compromise. But it's still a compromise nonetheless. Now, one thing I want to mention is you need to watch out for the new scam methods. I know a lot of my people out there, or not a lot of my people, but a lot of players out there are gonna fall for these scams. Like, you buy an item for 200 chaos, and these people will put in stacks of 10. And I think a lot of people might fall for it. So make sure when you do these trades at league launch that you watch out for people paying in stacks of 10 and deceiving you, because a lot of us don't really think about it. We always are in mind that we have to look out for stacks of 10 instead of stacks of 20. Now, they also mentioned that some of the other currency items like alchemies, I think, is a pretty big outlier. A lot of times when you go do a trade, it's at 1 to 1,200 in alchemies, and alchemies are, and you need to do multiple trade windows, so that's something that they might do. Alterations could be another thing, because that's only a stack of 20, and we get a lot of them. And then you have regrets and scourings that are in 30, so those probably won't be touched. Annulments are in 10, but you don't really get that many annuls. Now, some other quality of life improvements that they could do is an easier way to open up stack decks. I do know that opening up stack decks is really, really annoying, and it's kind of sad that opening it on a controller is actually easier. So maybe that is one way that they could potentially do it. But overall, I do think that the quality of life improvements are amazing. I do think that quality of life is something that you look at. It kind of seems like a small deal, but it does make your gameplay experience so much more enjoyable. And it's been 3,000 years. I think since the start of PoE in closed beta, Chaos Swords has been stacks of 10. And not only that, I think making it 20 also makes PoE a better free-to-play experience, especially at the start. Having larger stack sizes, meaning that your stash tabs aren't as limited. And that's probably one of the main reasons why GGG holds some of this stash tab or currency stack size hostage, is because they want you to buy the currency stash tab. And that's why it's probably at 20 instead of being at 100 or 50, right? Because they want people to buy the stash tabs, because it is a free-to-play game. They have to make money somehow. There's no battle pass. Oh wait, there is a battle pass. It's called Kirex Pass. But basically, it is nice to see quality of life improvements. I think one of the things that they did in the past was highlighting the item in the stash tab when someone whispered you to buy the item. That is actually revolutionary. It saves me so much time. It feels so much better to trade, even though trade is still a hassle. And that was actually one of my favorite changes. I think it was in Lake of Kalandra League. But it is always great to see GGG listening to community feedback. And it's also great to see that GGG has a bit of a spine to them, and that they don't fully give in. They still have their vision of the game, and they kind of stick to it a little bit. They want our hands to fall off a little bit. Maybe have a little bit of arthritis here and there, but not that bad, right? So overall, I am very excited to see the teasers. I'm also excited to see the nerfs and buffs. I'm excited to get my wings. I think 3.21 is going to be amazing. Let me know down in the comments down below what you think of 3.21 and your impressions of Diablo 4 so far. I hope you find more Mirrors, Divines, and Mage Bloods than me. And see you next time. Bye!